Hey friends, Dorothy Morgan here, professional astrologer. We're going to talk today about the full moon in Scorpio, which is on May 12th. I'm going to share my screen with you so you have something to look at that's not my face. Let's be shy. It is the full moon in Scorpio on May 12th. There we go. It's showing now. It is at 2:56 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. You go ahead and adjust to your time zone. We'll talk about what this means for all of us. Because when we have a full moon in Scorpio, it is an intense period. We have one a year. It tends to be pretty intense, and there's a lot of energy around this because there's a number of different things going on. We're going to talk about all of them because I want you to be able to use this in your own personal life. Doesn't matter if you know astrology or not. Doesn't matter what house this is in. I will mention it later in the forecasting, but for those who aren't astrologers and have no idea where this full moon is for you, you just take this content and this information that I'm providing here for you, and you look at it and apply it to your life. You don't have to know where it is to use this energy. It's just like knowing the weatherman says it's going to rain today, and you're going to take an umbrella with you so you don't get soaking wet if that's what you choose to do. Astrology works the same way. So let's get started. Here is that full moon. This is what it looks like on I live in my location. However, it's always the sun and the moon in an opposition to each other. And so we have that going on right here. So let's break this down and make it a little more personal for each of us. Some astrology words, however, the rest of it will be very clear for you. So let's get started. So this isn't just a full moon in Scorpio. It's not just emotional and intense. This Scorpio full moon right here, it's in the sign of Scorpio, is about deep transformation. It's about letting go and emotional breakthroughs. That moon in Scorpio is deep and intense. You don't have to be born with this to feel the intensity of this, right? So when we are starting to feel a little overwhelmed as we get closer and closer to this full moon, um, that's what you're going to sit down and you're going to hone in on and focus on. So, how do we do this? How do we do this? This full moon is going to show us where that pressure is building. And even if you don't understand where, we're going to feel that pressure building. Let's put it that way. We'll feel that pressure building, and it is asking us to look at it, hone in on it, look at the shadowy things that are coming to the surface, and it's asking us to work on that and to bring these old buried feelings or outdated patterns or outdated stories that we tell ourselves. It's asking us to bring those things to the surface so we can address it and do some healing. This is a very healing full moon. It can feel uncomfortable, but it's also incredibly healing. So, as I mentioned a minute ago, there's more than just the full moon. Let me use my toolbar. Here's the full moon, but there's more than just the full moon itself because the sun is conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And that also means that's Uranus right there. And that also means the moon is opposite Uranus. Now, this has been a pattern with this lunar gestation cycle. I'll talk about that later. And throughout the last 18 months with different lunar phases that match this full moon. And that tells us that we are in a phase, a longer period of breaking free from old patterns and cycles. It's asking us to look at that. The Uranus in Taurus, what we love, what we value, the sun in Taurus is highlighting what we value right now and what's important to us. And this full moon opposite that Uranus and the sun creates this opportunity, like a flipping of a switch, where we get to really see what it is that we value more than other things. So, with this full moon in Scorpio, there can be this sudden, thanks to Uranus, this sudden release of things that that have felt really bad. Now, it can be very cathartic. Can be I can't say that word. It can be very liberating and healing. Let's put it that way. Because right around this full moon, you can just wake up one day and you just know what needs to change. And that can happen to some of us because we really feel like, boom, light switch, something is changing. And that's going to be right around this full moon. Now, there's a lot of things will come to the surface too, because we're getting closer and closer to this full moon. And here in the United States is when it's Mother's Day. So a lot of feelings and things come to the surface then. Good or bad, whatever they are, there's an opportunity here with Uranus opposite this full moon, with the moon in Scorpio, creating a lot of intensity so we can do some healing, even where it feels like things are in a very difficult situation or difficult feeling, because sometimes we got to go through the muck, we've got to go through the pain and to get to the other side of it so we can start our healing. Now, I want to go a little deeper because this is Scorpio, and Scorpio always asks us to go deeper. And I'm going to do a little astrology here. The ruler of Scorpio is Pluto. And Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius. So for the next 5 months, it just recently went retrograde. And so it's asking us to take a deeper dive into who we are. And this full moon in Scorpio is a great initiating for that. The ruler of where the sign that Pluto is currently in is Uranus, and Uranus is part of this full moon. So while they are not mathing with each other, these planets are not all the Pluto is not mathing with the moon, the sun, or Uranus, but they are in each other's, they are creating a rulership connection. That's an in-depth astrology, but just trust me that they are connected. The other thing that is really important to look at is by declination. And, guys, I have this written out on my blog post. So go to my website, DorothyMorganAstrologer.com. Just, create yourself a little account. It's just like having a Facebook account or a YouTube account. Just put your email and your password in, and then you have access to all kinds of things in my website. The blog, you'll get the blog in before you even get the newsletter. The blog post will come to you. Back to this, the moon and Pluto are at the same declination, it's called. It's just another aspect type of measurement. You've heard me talk about it in past, but they're together during this full moon. So Pluto is very deep and very much connected because it's also the ruler of this full moon. Pluto in Scorpio, Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus, all of these things, lots and lots of astrology words. I know, I'm sorry, but it creates a lot of intensity here. There's more even. We even have it with Saturn, so that's helping things to ground. We even have Mercury and Pluto squaring, which creates a lot of intensity around the communications that we're having with others. So there is a lot going on with this full moon. And so, interestingly enough, while they are talking to each other, all four of these placements, plus Mercury, plus Saturn, even, it is giving us an opportunity to fully and deeply release something. So, your job, so it doesn't have to happen to you. Your job is the personal reflection, is like, take some time and ask yourself some questions. Here, I'll give you a couple. Let me look at my notes. It's like that will help you to decipher how to use this, because it's our job to go through these things. Things don't have to implode because of all the stress and shit going on around us. Sorry. And it can, but we can manage it a little bit more by using and asking ourselves these questions. So here's a couple. So where am I feeling the most pressure or discomfort right now? Ask yourself, give yourself a minute or a few minutes, meditate, journal. These are morning questions you can ask yourself. What emotional truths keep resurfacing no matter how hard I try to ignore it? So basically what feelings are coming to the surface no matter how much you want to ignore it? People don't like change, so people would rather, live with the devil they know as opposed to living in an unknown situation. as an example. It's just a metaphor, but that's what's going on for some of us. Here's one more question. It's like, where am I being invited to let go, even if things feel a little bit scary? And that is what the depth of this Scorpio full moon, ruled by Pluto, Pluto moon parallel. Even Jupiter is there in the opposite area of where the moon Pluto are parallel. It's called contra. And that just means that there's an expansion of information. There is so many things. I could go deeper. Hey, Patreon always gets this first. If you want me to go deeper, ask questions and I will go deeper. You have that available right with this video. All right, what else am I thinking about this? You know, it is helpful if you know where this is, but it is not necessary if you know where 22 Scorpio is, 22 Taurus. That's my ascendant, descendant. So for me, it's about like my face to the world and what I value and what the value I'm trying to give to you, my clients, you, my followers, my people, my patrons. You know, that's what I'm looking at. And for me, that's what I look for. But if you want to know where this is in your chart, if you don't have your natal chart or you don't know how to read it, but you want to know what house it is, you can just email me and I can tell you what house it is. I won't give you a reading, but I can tell you what house it's in, and that way you can do the research, or you could hire me for a reading because that's my profession. So yeah, come and do that. All right, what is next? So where's the opportunity for real growth here? What does that really look like? The opportunity for real growth here comes from you stepping into the energy of what's giving you the hardest time, what keeps coming up as a repeating pattern that you don't like, and you know you need to do it. Because with Uranus involved with this full moon, it's giving us an opportunity to let go. And the Pluto energy and the full moon Scorpio energy, we can create new ways and innovative ways to fill the space of what we have let go of. Because, as soon as we let go of something, as soon as we release something, there's always an equilibrium. Something else will come in and we can bring it in with something fresh and new and exciting. But the big purpose of the full moon is to illuminate what isn't working, where a deeper soul level healing needs to happen. So that's what we have going on there. Now, I want to make sure I'm sharing the right screen that I am, because the final piece that I want to talk about, I talk about this a lot for years, the lunar gestation cycle. It's a 3-year cycle. That starts with every new moon. 9 months after a new moon is the first quarter. 9 months after that is the full moon. 9 months after that's the last quarter. And 9 months later, we start this whole cycle again. There's a multitude of these running at the same time. So when there's a full moon, that means we're 18 months into a lunar gestation cycle. The next chart right here, this is where it started. We started this lunar gestation cycle. They're all around the same area in the sign. This one is in the sign of Scorpio. So today's full moon that I'm talking about is at 22 Scorpio. This new moon was at 20 Scorpio on November 13th, 2023. So I want you to look back at what you initiated in that new moon, because that began the beginning of a cycle that started 18 months ago from the forecast we're talking about today. And so pay attention to and go back to your journals, what you were initiating, what was stirring up, what was showing up and began back then. And even this is why I just insist, do what you want, but I insist that we all journal around new moons and take notes and journal and do your new moon rituals if you love doing that, because that helps too. So go look back at your journaling around November 13, 2023, when we had that new moon in Scorpio, really close to the area where the full moon is right now. And in this chart, you can see that Uranus was also involved in that initiation, that new moon in Scorpio, November 13, 2023. So yeah, give us that look. And let's see, making sure. Here's 2023. I always have 2 years of, yeah, we were out of eclipse season by then, just making sure the nodes are kind of close, but double checking. 9 months after this date is August 12th, 2024. And here the moon is also right around the same area that our current full moon is. And there it is, it's at 20. It doesn't have to be in the same place. Don't worry about that location. That's not what matters. What matters is the number of the moon and the moon cycle. That fourth quarter, the first quarter, it's called the first, I call it the first quarter. What does our Llewellyn book call it? Hey, Llewellyn gives a different name for it. The software has a different name for it. They call it the second quarter in the Llewellyn books that we use. I call it the first quarter, whatever. Same thing. Sun and moon are in a 90-degree angle to each other right there. And this is where we're taking action and things that we initiated and began. The new moon in November of 2023 is now starting to show up, starting to shine, starting to show up. Things are happening from that new moon. And here we are back to today. Today's full moon in Scorpio. Today meaning whatever that date is on the screen. And here we are, that full moon in Scorpio on May 12th. And there it is at 22 Scorpio. Again, Uranus is involved this time. It wasn't at the first square, but it is now. Bang, you are going to be able to see some new things happening. And that is what I want us to look at. So I'm going to stop my share as we tie this up. So, wow, right? How do you want to work with this? So give yourself some space around this full moon to process, to understand, and to look at the things that matter to you. We don't want to push this. We don't want to dismiss our feelings. We want to make sure that we have this whole process. We start really honoring how you're feeling. Give yourself that time to journal. Give yourself time to meditate and just to get rid of the extra noise so you can take a deeper dive. Use the tools that you have when we're working through, and I know we're in very stressful times in the world right now. And so, especially here in the US, take your time and allow yourself to go deeper into your understanding of who you are and the areas in your life that feel like you're a bit out of control or you don't like it, because this is a wonderful opportunity, especially with all those other aspects happening with this full moon, to give us all an opportunity to bring things to the surface, to move through them once and for all, and to move on and to heal. There's some amazing opportunities for us here today. And thank you guys over on Patreon for your love and your support. And you folks on YouTube, hey, come on over to Patreon. We do a lot more over there. You get everything early, a lot more insight, even though this is pretty in-depth. All right. Take care of yourself, guys. I'll see you on the next video, and blessings and namaste.